Well, welcome. I want to introduce our audience to some of our main players at this 2020 Columbus Black Theater Festival. We have Vicki Stewart. Crazy. Hi,
Hi.
Vicki. She's an actress in one of the plays. We have this gentleman down here, Mr. Sean Maycock.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
He's one of our directors. And then there's this other woman on the other side of him, Ariel. Ariel. And she's a director. And we're just so excited this year to have them with us because this year is one of the years where we as actors and directors and producers and stuff have had to deal with challenges on how can we still be creative, and get our work out. And having to use this new social distancing and not being able to come together as a group on a stage or in front of an audience with people, because we're theater, so we're used to having people stand right in front of us. We hear the claps, we see the eyes, we get the cheers, we get the energy back from the audience when we're doing stuff, and then we just feel it. And for us as stage theater people to have to change and present theater as a filmmaker, it is a challenge because we still want to keep it so that we have the theater aspect, So I thought that it would be nice if we talked with you guys and you give us some of your ideas on how you feel and how it felt to bring this theater to life as a filmmaker. So how about let's reverse it and start with men first. John, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing and your play and any challenges that you felt you had.
Sure. Well, my name is Sean Maycock, and I've been active in the world of theater on an amateur level for about 20 years now, a little over 20. Yeah, no, it's been about 20 years. My day job is a teacher. I teach middle school math and social studies, but I've always had a passion for the theater, for acting and writing and directing, all of those things. So I was really honored and privileged when Julie invited me to be a part of this year's Columbus Black Theater Festival. I participated before as an actor a couple of years ago, and I had a really great time. I think this is such a fantastic festival, and so I'm just glad to be here, basically. I've never done something quite like this before, and so a lot of it was, I kind of had some ideas about what it was going to be like initially, and then I had to modify those ideas when I realized it wasn't really going to work. As you said, Julie, it's difficult when you do theater, but you're also filming it, because it's not really like a movie, or a short. But it's not really theater either. It's kind of somewhere in between, I'm sure that Lin-Manuel Miranda knows exactly what we're talking about, since they just are going to be opening Hamilton soon, and that's a film of a Broadway play. Obviously, I'm sure that they had, I'm sure it's going to be great. But for me, particularly what was challenging was that my play, Man Down, by Mimi Ayers, is a monologue. So there wasn't anyone else to play off to. There was no one else to cut away to, and it's tricky, So that presents some challenges in terms of trying to keep our audience engaged with just one person talking. And when you're in that person's presence and they're giving this, they're performing this monologue right there, a lot of that is already resolved, But in a, a Zoom type situation, it's more static, and that makes it more difficult. The other thing that was tricky too is that we couldn't really do much with camera movement because there was me here in Columbus, and my actor Derek was in Las Vegas, and he didn't have anyone in the room with him, so we couldn't do any camera movement. We couldn't move the camera around, to just create some dynamic effects. We had to figure out how to do what we needed to do with whatever the editor would be able to do with in terms of cutting. So those are some of the challenges we faced. I think we did a good job. I think we managed to overcome those challenges. I hope so. We'll see when it comes out, but I felt pretty good about it.
Well, I know we can't wait to see that. And let's, instead of going to another director, let's go to an actress, Vicki. So you can talk to us and tell us about how challenging it was for you to perform in a 3-box film when we're used to controlling the stage.
All right. It was really different because, I mean, I'm used to performing on the stage. I'm not really used to being filmed or anything like that. So it was a bit of a challenge that way, but it seems everything that people are doing, to be creative is a bit challenging at this time. Because I mean, I'm a singer, and I've been doing a lot of virtual choirs. So instead of standing with people next to you and everything, you're just by yourself and you're singing along to a guide track. And then when you play back the recording, it's just your voice. That's different.
Yeah.
But then they edit it all together, and it's wonderful.
So tell us a little bit about your what you do as far as your acting and your singing, because I heard that you are a wonderful singer too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been singing a very, very long time. And well, currently, I sing with the Scioto Valley Chorus of Sweet Adelines, and we've still been having our rehearsals every Monday, but on Zoom, and obviously you can't really sing as a choir, but you can still learn music and have the fellowship. As far as acting, I've only been really acting for about maybe 10 years or so. Just started an acting class and went from there. That's where I met Ariel.
Well, join the club, because although I've been writing plays and directing plays for several decades, I've really only become an actress, and I put it distinguished because I'm a woman. I'm an actress, but I've only been that for at least maybe 12 years now. Just like, a lot of people don't believe that, but then again, I have my personal friends that say, well, you always been an actress, you ain't doing nothing, you ain't learn, you ain't doing nothing special, that's you. But it is, it's different. You keep going from writing, directing, and then you're in front of the camera, especially, I don't know your age, but especially when I started, because when I became, acting, I was, I was up there. I hadn't thought about acting, that just wasn't, but, God knows what he wants us to do. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was all about music up until I just took an acting class. And then it's like, oh, this is fun too.
Yeah. It's like the other creativeness in us comes out.
Yeah.
All right, Ariel, why don't you talk to us about, you're the one that directed Vicki and tell us about what the name of that was and how that was. Are you unmuting when I'm unmuting?
Well, there we go. Sorry about that.
I think what's happening is I'm unmuting you and you're trying to unmute, so I'll control the mute.
I don't know how that even did that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I can control that. I told you. Hey, I'm learning.
I'm sorry. Okay, so that was the one I was doing, the monologue. Say the Names by Andrea Fleck Clardy. She brought to life some words and power that was very relevant in what's going on in the world today, and coming from a perspective of a different background it was very grounded to see Vicki perform that and have a lot of passion behind it, because I know quite a few people have placed videos on social networking that have spoken similar words, if not have felt the same way. So it was very moving and very great to be able to see Vicki bring it to life.
Vicki, what I want to ask you is, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ariel, because one of the things about this year's festival, basically, number one, in October, in the summer, I have to start thinking, like right now, I have to start thinking about what's next year's festival is going to be. What's that going to look like? And it was last year around August, and I kept thinking, okay, Lord, what should my festival be about next year? What's because I added the monologue piece to it. But I didn't just want a whole bunch of different monologues. I wanted a theme, and the theme that I was given was inclusion, and that all of the monologues needed to reflect how we as a society either include or exclude people based on color, age, sex, sexuality, schools, being able to go to a club, because like the Girl Scouts, one of the plays I wrote, it's about kids, but we'll get in that later. But the thing but he gave me that inclusion, and the plays that in the monologues that we received and that we chose as blind. By the way, Sean was one of our blind readers for the Columbus Black Theater Festival. We had blind reads. I sent them out. I didn't even really know who if they was white, black, red, or yellow. I didn't know who they were. We were just reading works because the play was for inclusion. So this year I was like, anybody can send a play. Inclusion means anybody. That means not just black writers. That means anybody that's going to write a play that deals with inclusion and exclusion of people. And we were so blessed that the plays that we chose without knowing this, with me choosing inclusion, way last year, and with us picking plays that dealt with the issues that are going on right now in regards to our race relationships, injustices, the way people treat others, how we feel with ourselves, mental illness, how we're separated because of mental illnesses, how we're separated because we were once young and now we're old, and so how now we're not included in things. And so what I wanted to ask you, Vicki, was as a white woman, because a white woman wrote the play that you're doing, and how did it feel? And I'm not trying to get into all how just stuff like that, but how did it affect you in portraying this white woman who wanted to be a part of what was going on with the Black Lives Matters and the struggle of being included, not only with her race of people, but with the people she's trying to help?
Yeah, I mean, it's really something to think about, because I mean, as a woman, you have a certain set of issues, but then I'm also white, so I feel I really need to tread carefully. I don't, and it's just a lot of learning. I mean, stuff, just, I don't know, I never really thought about a lot of it until fairly recently. And what I thought was really interesting is that the monologue, I mean, Yeah, it was. I felt it very relevant. But I have a friend who's a little bit older than me who, I mean, that seems like exactly what she's been doing. I mean, she's at my church. She's selling, found some source to get Black Lives Matter signs. I mean, so I was like, okay. But I mean, it just got, I mean, it was already relevant and it just got even more relevant. And I mean, I got to believe that's a God thing.
Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the festival. And you know, Sean, the one that you're doing, it's about a man who was once strong, young, vibrant producer, provider, and now is older and stuff. How did that affect you as a man?
Oh,
Who,
wow.
you know, in our seasoned years, who we,
Yeah.
you know, was once that,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're older. How that?
Right, right. Well, I'm not claiming it yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you know that play was really powerful, and you know, Mimi Ayers, the playwright, I had a chance to meet with her on Zoom and talk with her a little bit, and she was inspired by her father. This is kind of the story of his life, you know. But you know, I'm going to be 47 in August, and I still feel like I've still got a few years before I catch up to where our protagonist is in Man Down. But I definitely feel it, you know, feel the breath on the back of my neck, you know, that this is coming. And it's scary, to be honest. This is a story of someone who really gained his identity through what he could do physically, you know, his work. I mean, works in a steel mill, a crane operator, and he takes a lot of pride in what he's able to physically accomplish with his hands, with his body. And we see that progression. You know, we see that pride, we see that confidence he has in his abilities, and then we see as time passes how he begins to really starts to slip away, and is eventually finally gone. It's quite powerful, and certainly as a man, it resonated. You know, I have never been, you know, an athlete or somebody who's particularly good with my hands and stuff like that. But the way I related to it is I've always had I've always been a person who's about the life of the mind, you know, writing, speaking, thinking, reading, memory, all of those things are really integral to who I am as a person. And I think probably my greatest fear would be if I were to lose that as I got older. My grandfather was a very accomplished man. He was a pastor, a minister, and he achieved a lot in our church. But in the last years of his life, he had dementia, and that person just disappeared. You know, that person that was so you know, erudite, and you know, was just really you know, was so brilliant. It was just gone. You know, that is kind of what I would fear. You know, as I get older, is to lose that. And I think that's what that play is about. Although we don't talk about that, as we talk about it from a physical point of view, it's still that sense of once being a useful part of society, being able to contribute, you know, being able to do a lot. And then suddenly you don't have a place anymore. You know, there's nothing for you to do because those abilities are gone. So it's kind of scary, to be honest with you.
So Ariel, how was it for you directing a white woman about a monologue about Black Lives Matter? Are you touching the mute? I guess we're not going to know what she feels. I'll speak for her. Psych. Are you touching the mute? What are you doing?
Does she say that? Does it say she's unmuted on your end?
Yeah, it says she's muted.
Oh, well, you got to unmute her. Go ahead.
Okay, there
her.
we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you overrode my mute. Quit it.
I don't know.
Overriding my unmute.
Okay, that time I didn't. The first time I did.
You
That
did?
time I did not. The first time I was like, oh, I gotta, you know. Okay,
I
but
love these Zoom meetings. They bring stuff to life. Go ahead, girl.
um to answer that question, it was something that I actually asked Vicki to pull from herself. I wanted her to think about where this would come from her standpoint, because as I'm not a white woman, I don't know. I mean, I have natural biases of what's going on in our community as Black people. I'm naturally going to feel a certain way. But seeing this from a perspective from a woman that's looking at our community, opposed to being a part of that community, and having to help her define that kind of empathy and trying to see it from her standpoint and understand that she can't, she's trying to do what she can and bring those feelings to others and let them see that she is not the solution, but she's going to help with the problem. She's going to help get there. And that is something that too many people, they run out of steam, if you will. They will go the distance, but after a while it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm tired now. And that was something that in her monologue, she was trying to beat that stereotype, because she wanted to keep going. She didn't want to start. And that was one of the things that I admired about the playwright. I mean, it was beautifully said, because too much has gone on in this world that needs to be consistent. And that is one thing that is outrageous and that is not consistent. They'll fizzle out. And she wrote that beautifully. It was written and spoken well. And I am glad I was able to and navigate Vicki in this, because technically I can never really say I showed her the way, because I didn't. Because even after speaking with the writer, she definitely, you could tell this was a passion project for her. This came from her heart, and I'm just glad I was able to help bring it to life.
All right. Yes, it was very well done. Very well done. Well, I want to thank you guys again for being a part of the 2020 Columbus Black Theater Festival. And I know that our audience this year is going to just be in for a great treat with some timely work. So thank you so much, and God bless you.